Appeal number 2026-000-283. Prepare for the appellant, Mr. Burton. Thanks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council.
Afternoon, Your Honors.
We are convened for all arguments in Appeal 2026-000-283. I am Judge Mayor. Next to me, Judge Thomas, and we are joining us remotely, Judge McDonald. You have 20 minutes for total time for all arguments. We provide the following reminders. First, recording of any kind during PTAB hearings are strictly prohibited. The court reporter will provide in due course a full transcript of the hearing that will become part of the proceeding. To ensure that the transcript of this hearing is clear, we ask that you identify yourself before speaking, to speak directly into the microphone, and to identify numbering in figures and any other pertinent identifying information when referring to any item in the record. Please pause a few seconds after identifying it to provide us time to find it. Please also mute yourself when not speaking. If at any time during the proceeding you encounter any technical difficulties that you feel fundamentally undermine your ability to adequately represent your client, please let us know immediately. Second, we have reviewed the entire record and we are prepared with questions today. These questions and their answers will help us to decide the issues in the case. In the interest of fairness and due process, we must limit our considerations to the arguments and evidence already presented in the record. Please know we are paying close attention to your arguments and carefully considering the case. And if we interrupt you, I apologize in advance. We do so to be able to ask you questions that may be essential to our resolution of the issues or to keep the hearing on track with time. Third, please make it clear which rejection and claim that you are addressing at all times. I will maintain the clock and endeavor to give you time warnings as we get near the end of your allotted argument time. But it would also be helpful for you to track your time. Finally, please be aware that members of the public may be listening to this whole hearing. Following the hearing, please confer with the court reporter to ensure that there are no questions regarding spelling of terms or names. Are there any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. I have a brief housekeeping question. Will Judge McDonald be able to see my screen as I'm projecting it in the courtroom?
Judge McDonald, are you able to see the screen?
These are the same exhibit that was submitted. I have that on a second screen already.
Absolutely.
As long as you say which slide it is, I can bring it up on my own screen.
Absolutely. The one difference might be is it's my understanding that occasionally the demonstratives get uploaded in black and white. My demonstratives are in color. So we'll make it work.
Okay, you are correct on that.
It's funny, on the IPR side, the demonstratives are always posted in color. On the ex parte appeal side, for some reason, they get converted to black and white. I have no idea.
But I'm guessing that's because Patents controls how we get that material, because that's their organization doing the loading.
That's above both of our pay grades, Your Honor.
Exactly.
However, I will proceed to make my formal appearance if that's acceptable to the board.
Yes, please. Okay, 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes, please.
Thank you. Brandon Thies for the applicant here, ATI Technologies. For clarity and for the record's purposes, this is appeal number 2026-0000283, which relates to application 17033-266. Moving to slide 2 of my demonstratives, there are several 103 rejections that are before the board. Several of those rejections are specifically addressed in the briefing in the papers. However, I feel it's the best use of our brief time together today to limit our discussion to the independent claims. Specifically, we will be talking about the examiner's proposed combination of the hollow reference, ding, and in further reference of Kim. Moving to slide 3 of the demonstratives, there is one claim element that is fundamentally at issue before us today. That is the reallocation step that is highlighted in yellow. Just for clarity, I'll read it. Reallocating the hardware bandwidth capabilities among the VFS by changing a length of a respective time slice allocated to each VF based on one or more concurrent hardware bandwidth usages of each VF and their associated hardware bandwidth capabilities. So fundamentally, we are going to reallocate the hardware bandwidth capabilities amongst the VFs by changing a length. As highlighted further in blue, the wherein clause makes it very precise what we mean by changing a length. The claim specifically says wherein the length of the respective time slice is changed from a first duration to a second duration. So we are going to start with, for example, 10 milliseconds of each slice. Then we're going to change that duration from 10 milliseconds to 5 milliseconds. It's fundamentally what the claim says. The dispositive issue before the board today is a matter of claim construction. And what does changing a length of a respective time slice mean? Our position is that changing the length of a time slice means exactly what the language says. We start with one length of time, 10 seconds. We change that length of time to 8 seconds, to 12 seconds, based on the utilization of the other VFs. Our specification makes this point very clear in paragraph 41, which is highlighted in the lower right-hand portion of slide 4. It says, for example, the number of MBs per second can be increased for a VF 308 by changing, e.g., increasing or decreasing the time slice allocated to the VF 308. That's one way you can implement this, or specifically, changing the number of time slices over a period of time or clock cycles. So these are two alternatives that the specification talks about. Our claim, however, only is addressing the one case where we are changing that duration from 10 seconds, 10 microseconds to 5 microseconds, from 5 microseconds to 10 microseconds, 7 microseconds, 3.5 microseconds. We are dynamically making this adjustment based on how the system is operating.
Counselor, I'm sticking with paragraph 41 here.
Yep.
Let's go back to that, where it says, for example, changing the length, I guess the time slice, I mean that changing the number of time slices. It can be changing the number of time slices over a period of time, or it can be just changing the time slice allotted. And both of them, either definition would exemplify, if you will, the limitation of changing the time slice from one time slice to another, essentially. So isn't it at the end of the day, the thing that matters here, as far as paragraph 41 is concerned, has to do with changing the time duration. So of course there are two ways of doing that. You can add a discrete time to it, or you can do it, I guess, discretely or continuously. But at the end of the day, you're still changing the time duration.
No, Your Honor, because the claim language, if we return to what the claim language says, is it is the duration of the slice. If you're allocating multiple slices, you haven't changed the duration of the slice. And I believe I have a demonstrative slide that addresses this very on point. Jumping ahead to slide 6. The examiner's theory is what you had just asked about, Your Honor, where we have, before our recalibration, we have allocated 3 slices, each slice being 1 microsecond. After our recalibration, we then allocate 4 slices. However, each slice still remains as 1 microsecond. That is in comparison to what our claim specifically recites, which is we are going to change the duration of the slice. So you can see in the bottom, we have our claimed mechanism where we start out at 5 microseconds, and then we change the duration from that first duration, 5 microseconds, to 10 microseconds. So in the top, the duration of the slice is not changed. In our claim, the duration of the slice is changed. And Your Honor, I think it might be helpful to make an analogy here. And when I'm preparing for my oral arguments, I generally like to take someone that is not a technical person and explain the arguments. And the best analogy I can explain here is the difference between how you serve birthday cake versus pizza at a party. When you're serving pizza at a party, you ask, how many slices do you want? However, if you're serving the birthday cake at the end of the cake, you ask how big of a slice you want. Our invention is fundamentally how big of a slice of cake you want. As you see, you can ask for a small piece, you get 5 microseconds. You ask for a big piece, you get 10 microseconds. The prior art is the pizza case, where everyone's going to get a slice.
What difference does it make if I say that, okay, I want 2 regular slices, or I want a large slice that adds up to the 2 regular slices?
Oh, fundamentally, Your Honor, because the pizza is pre-cut. It's already divided into the 8 slices. Your quantization is set discretely at those 8 slices. That is what the DING reference teaches, and that is how that technology works. And from a microprocessor standpoint, having defined slicing, having it already pre-cut, makes your scheduling much easier. However, it presents an opportunity where if your slices are pre-cut at 2 microseconds and your task actually needs 3 microseconds, it's quantized, so you can allocate 2 slices, 4 microseconds, and you're going to waste that 1 microsecond. However, in our architecture, we can change the length of that slice to be exactly 3.
No, but we're talking about obviousness here, Counselor. So you're telling me that one of skill in or someone who's very well versed, in this technology, so would not understand that, well, hey, it's okay to substitute 2 slices of pizza, 2 small slices for 1 big slice of pizza. So you're telling me that, one skill would not be able to say, hey, it's the same thing. Instead of getting 2 separate slices, let me get 1 big slice.
Well, Your Honor, as I believe we addressed in our briefing, particularly in the reply brief, we addressed that those present different technological challenges, have different technological advantages, and the argument that Your Honor has laid out before us is not in the record. We do not have a teaching or a suggestion or any sort of reference that teaches that equivalent. In the record before us, we have a reference that teaches allocating a different number of slices. Our claim, returning to slide 3, clearly says wherein the length of the respective time slice is changed from a first duration to a second duration. In DING and other
go back to the other illustration that you had earlier.
Yep. This illustration on slide 6.
Yes,
Yep.
Exactly. Yes. When you're comparing this, so you're telling me, because the examiner position is very clear that, okay, all right, hey, you have, at the end of the day, you're changing from, one duration to another duration, except that, hey, if you're doing 4 seconds, you can have 4 separate seconds, or at the bottom, instead of having 10 milliseconds, you have 1 block that says 4 seconds. So you're telling me that, well, hey, one skill in ER would not know to say, hey, I can substitute one for the other.
Well, Your Honor, there's nothing in the record that says that. That is not the argument that the examiner has made. The examiner has made the argument that they are equivalent, which they fundamentally are not. Your Honor's position is a different argument than what was raised by the examiner before us. And again, if there exists a reference, a hypothetical reference that teaches what Your Honor's teaches, I don't know. It's not in the record before us. What we have before us is the DING reference in view of some other references, but fundamentally the DING reference. And what the DING reference teaches is what we show on the top. And if you look at the examiner's answer, the examiner actually, for lack of better terms, doubled down and said and provided the exact example that I believe we call out on slide 5 of the demonstratives. The examiner says, for example, if a particular VF is allocated a time slice made up of 5 by 1 millisecond slices, it is modified by adding an additional 1 millisecond slice. The time slice has now been lengthened to 6 milliseconds, Your Honor. That is not, the examiner is in fact admitting what it doesn't meet the claim limitation.
No, but also the record is what the record is. And when you go back to slide 4 again, I mean, which encapsulates, not slide 4, the other slide.
Yeah, the one with the diagram, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Slide 6, okay, I'll remember that. Yeah, that summarized.
100%, Your Honor.
It's summarizing the issue before us. So the basic question here is whether what you have at the bottom, so assuming arguendo, you have, same time duration. So, for the sake of argument, we're going to say that, okay, all right, you have 10 seconds. That's what you have in the claim down there.
Yep.
So instead of, 10 seconds, you have 10, 1, a millisecond.
100%.
So the question is that obvious? Is that 10 seconds that you have at the bottom obvious? in light of the 10 separate milliseconds that you have up on top? That's the question.
Your
Any
Honor,
other one or two?
100%, Your Honor.
Yes.
That is the issue before the court.
Yes.
That's why the slide is up there, because I wanted to distill this and make this as clear for the panel.
Yes.
My clients absolutely think they're fundamentally different. That there are technical advantages to changing the duration because of the 2-3 example I gave you there. If you have two microsecond slices and your task actually needs 3, you're going to waste that 1 microsecond. That's specifically why it is in the claim language that says that we're changing the duration of the slice. Actually, let's go with the specific claim language because I think it's important here. Wherein the length of a respective time slice is changed from a first duration to a second duration. I'd flip back to slide 3. That language has been added through amendment as we've been trying to explain to the examiner that is where the invention lies here, is that we are not simply giving you more slices, we are giving you a bigger piece. And those are not fundamentally the same thing. Because when you have almost a digital analog type of relationship where you can take any value versus discretized values. To Your Honor's question related to are there other references out there, I actually would welcome the examiner. As ATI is an operating company, they intend to use this patent. We'd love to have a better examination and to find that reference, and then we can further amend and have a discussion about it. But right now,
this is Judge McDonald. Where is time slice described? What it's supposed to be? I'm not seeing how the claim distinguishes over what Judge Homer is saying. Is time slice something beyond the fact it's the amount of time that's allocated?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't have the specific citation to the record as related to the application on there, but I can answer your question. Perhaps in additional briefing, I can give you the citations to the record on this issue. Even in the Ding reference, the time slice when you're doing round robin scheduling or any sort of microprocessor scheduling is the quantized value that is given to each task that's being performed. In a hyper-threaded architecture, each thread will be allocated a certain amount of time slice when you're going around. So you're dealing out pieces.
Well, but it sounds like you're saying that there's a difference between giving it 10 milliseconds as a block of 10 different milliseconds as opposed to a block of 10 milliseconds. But I'm not seeing how that's defined. I'm looking at paragraph 27 in the spec, and I'm just staring at it going, I don't.
Give me 1 second, Your Honor, to bring it up.
It says amount of time or number of clock cycles. So it appears to just be a time length. It's given 10 milliseconds in the prior art. It's given 10 milliseconds under the claim. I'm not seeing how that's differentiated.
Okay. Let me try to address your question with what the claim language says. We are changing a length of the respective time slice. In Your Honor's construction, even based on what you just described, I think it's consistent with what paragraph 27 says.
Well, the reason I'm asking it that way is I'm looking at figure 6, if you can bring that up again, and
there we go. Is that figure 6? Figure 6 of our patent application, Your Honor, or of
no, sorry, slide 6.
Slide 6. I apologize. You had asked about the patent, and I had switched over to the patent. Yes, Your Honor.
No, that's my fault. Because I'm looking at this, and I just view the examiner's theory as a 3 millisecond and a 4 millisecond time slices. You can divide it more if you want to, but I don't think there's a real difference between that and describing the claim mechanism as 5 milliseconds, because it still says number of clock cycles in paragraph 27. So a time slice, even the 5 milliseconds appears to it's going to have separate clock cycles in it. So I'm unclear as to how just that phrase allocated time slice is going to distinguish over the prior art.
Because, Your Honor, when we look at the claim language specifically, moving back to slide 3,
Well, it appears, going back again to slide 6, it appears that you're reading the examiner's theory as 3 or 4 separate time slices. I don't know why that's required.
Because that's the way Ding works.
Well, does Ding say that those are separate time slices, that exact language?
I believe it speaks in terms of the resources allocated to the VF. I believe the paragraph 65 and 66 are what the examiner points to for that, which I believe is addressed in one of the other demonstratives. So that is moving to slide 9. We have the 2 portions of Ding that the examiner relies upon for that.
Well, what I'm trying to, I'm again looking at how you defined it in the specification, how what's in Ding is an amount of time. That's because it says allocated time slice. This is reading from your paragraph 27, e.g., an amount of time such as milliseconds or a number of clock cycles in which the VF is active, executing. So does Ding work different than that?
Yes, Your Honor, because the time slice is not changed. It's given the same amount of time. It's just changing the number. It's as if you were dealing out cards. Each card is a quantization, and that is what Ding is teaching. We're saying that you can change the size of the card. And paragraph 27, it's explaining how it. Reading again.
Well, let me come. You're saying that in Ding you always get the same number of milliseconds for each allocation, as opposed to
100%.
yours, which you can allocate different. But that now let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. But if you sequentially allocate 3 of the time slices in Ding, or 5, let's say 5, so it compares to your slide. How is that any different than giving a 5 millisecond time slice if you give 5 1 millisecond time slices?
Because in that example, they would be equivalent. However, if you gave an example where the time slice was 2, there would never be a circumstance where the 2 microsecond time slice would overlap with the 5, because you could allocate 6 or you could allocate 4. You could not allocate 5. So in the case of only allocating 2 microsecond time slices, the task would be starved because it wouldn't get the 1 extra microsecond that it needed to service the job. Or in the case of allocating 3, you would have a circumstance by which you would be wasting a clock cycle, a microsecond, I'm sorry, in the example. There are just different ways of allocating clocks. And in a microprocessor design, the fixed length times slice is an easier implementation because it allows for synchronization and easier of scheduling across the jobs, because it's very easy to just hand out slices of pizza than to have to change the sizes relative to all the other sizes when you are dynamically changing the number of slices. And when you consider that this is related to a GPU and that has to synchronize to other off-chip components, a CPU, RAM, etc., having those known time slices at fixed intervals, 1 millisecond, 2 milliseconds, 3 milliseconds, is a much easier technological solution, and we go into this in the briefing, to address that specific issue. Seeing that I'm just about to hit my time here, I just wanted to close with what we've been really talking about here, moving to slide 16 of my demonstratives, that the examiner fundamentally is changing the claim language from length, which means duration, to a number. Those words are not the same. They have different meaning. So Ding does not teach changing any duration. It changes the number. The other ancillary references really have nothing to do with this issue. They have to deal with the other claim elements and to a certain extent, what factors you're looking at in making your determination. And I would actually ask your honors, I apologize, I'm a little bit over, I'll just close on this point, to look at Ding and how it uses its utilization table, where it's talking about 20 and 30% utilization, and how fundamentally different that is, because that is a static amount. You're going to give 20% of your CPU, of your resources to that particular task. It doesn't dynamically determine it. And ours, because it says reallocating, it has to be iterative and it has to be live. Thank you, Your Honors. It was a very spirited conversation.
Thank you. Any further question from the panel?
This is Judge McDonald. I have no questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honors. Anything from the court reporter? Thank you.
Thank you much. That's the record.
And I managed not to trip this time. Have a good day.
Aye. One is 680. Already? Okay. Okay, are you ready? The panel ready? The next case?
I'm ready.
Okay, we're ready for that.